Sanderson starting it off now. A pass over to Brady Tkachuk. 2-on-1 developing. Tkachuk waits, keeps, shoots, scores! Brady Tkachuk! The overtime winner! And the Senators have won 3 in a row for the first time this season.
And there is Brady Tkachuk with your game winner. Brady Tkachuk. Gotta love that call from Harner Ryan Singh on Sportsnet. Tkachuk wins it in OT over the Pittsburgh Penguins on Saturday night. And look at that. The Sens have won 5 of 6. They have their first 3-game win streak of the year. And I will say on Tkachuk's goal, that was a 3-on-4. That was one of the worst examples of too many men in the ice I've ever seen by the Penguins. But no matter, they got it done. It is Steve Warren along with the coach, Greg Kennedy. Greg, how are you today?
I'm good, Steve. I liked your choice of the expression, they got it done, because they certainly did. In a game where they dominated early, it was like, okay, look, we're going to run out of gas late, so let's get a good lead going here. And they tried their darndest, but they couldn't quite get the nice cushion going. And then to come back and win it in overtime, that's good on them. That's winning a game when you really needed a dub, too. It was a good game. I enjoyed that one.
Yeah, in weird circumstances to start. One of the storylines was the fact that Anton Forsberg was given the nod from Travis Green to be the starter in the game. And a lot of people wondered, I know it's a back-to-back from Carolina to Ottawa with travel. But even that said, Linus Ullmark is a hot hand and just such a big game. They're all big games when you're, you threw a grenade on yourself in the early part of the season. But no, Anton Forsberg is who Travis Green decided to go with, not Linus Ullmark. But Forsberg got dinged up somewhere in the warm-up. I don't think he even took the ice for the warm-up. And then they were now in EBUG territory. You had Linus Ullmark starting, and good thing because he was phenomenal in the game. But they had a kid named Zach Dietz who plays for the U of Ottawa, who I guess at one point I'm going to play the video for our YouTube subscribers. Here's Zach Dietz making his way from roughly around the Tanger outlets across the bridge to get to the Sens game. There he goes, running along with all his hockey gear over his shoulder there. Got the sticks going and everything. Finally, somebody, I guess, according to Bruce Garriock, who interviewed him, somebody finally picked him up shortly after that and got him the rest of the way there because his legs were starting to get tired. But pretty crazy incident. It always seems to be when there's an emergency backup goalie required.
And wearing his Josh Norris sweater there, it was they at one point they made a crack that maybe he was at the game as a fan, and that's why he had the sweater on. But earlier in the broadcast, they mentioned that he was at his girlfriend's mother's place. So I don't know what he was doing. Spending a Saturday night at home watching the game with his sweater on was what he was doing. The thing that surprised me though was that when I heard it was Dietz, I immediately scrambled to look the guy up, but he's never played anything above what is Tier 2 Junior A. Like he's never played anything above Junior A. He played at Burlington Cougars, didn't play any major junior, never had a scholarship. So that one threw me for a loop because the other Ottawa U goalies played the Q and has a little bit of a better pedigree. I guess he wasn't available, and it ended up being Dietz. And I had visions of them getting like a 5-0 lead and then saying, hey, Linus, you need a breather. Let's let this kid go in for a little bit. But unfortunately, that didn't happen for the kid.
I was called a wet blanket when I think it was Chicago that did it, when they had a good, healthy lead. I think they had a 7-2 lead, and they brought in the Chicago EBUG just for fun. And I personally... I was the no fun police. People were calling me that. I personally would, if I was the opposing coach losing 7-2 and you stick your backup goalie, I would feel disrespected by that. I want you to try your best. I feel like it's a disrespect when you're just, letting somebody, live out their childhood dream. This is the NHL. I wouldn't appreciate that, but never came to fruition in Ottawa. And yeah, I guess the 3 U Ottawa goalies just rotate. And it was a case of the other 2 guys had exams to study for or something like that. And, and he was the guy on the card. And so he got the call. And he initially I thought, okay, don't you have a car? Doesn't he have somebody to drive? They just got caught in traffic. His girlfriend was with him in the car. and there was so much traffic, he finally just said, I got to get there as soon as I can. And so in traffic, he jumps out with all his gear and starts running. And then when his legs finally got too tired, he slowed down. Somebody, I guess, who was in traffic said, where are you going? He goes, I'm the EBUG at the game tonight. And they said, hop in, we'll get you there. And so they did. And pretty neat story, I thought, all in all, on Saturday night, as was the victory. And a couple of victories before that as well. I mean, the Anaheim game was great. You had Drake Batherson going off with a natural hat trick. The Carolina game was cool because you had Shane Pinto getting off the schneid. And I think Pinto in particular was a big deal. Batherson's been going well for a while now, but right now they're in a playoff spot. They're not going to stay in a playoff spot if Shane Pinto continued on the scoring trajectory he'd been on.
Yeah, good point. It was really good to see him get off the schneid and to score the goal from his usual power play spot. I think that's his office there in the mid slot about hash mark high. But he's been playing well, right, Steve? That's the thing. It's not like he was in a funk earlier and really wasn't effective. Didn't seem to be doing anything. But I really think it's since he started playing with Amadio and since Cousins moved on to that line, the three of them have looked good. I thought Amadio looked pretty good in the game too. Again, like the three of them have looked good. They found the third line, I think, and that's a good sign too. You got three lines that are going that can produce. You're a team to be reckoned with.
Yeah, it was great. It got overshadowed by the fact that, Pinto is launching the gorilla off his back finally. But watch Amadio in the lead up to the goal, all the yeoman's work that he's doing there, just a great forecheck, steals the puck away, sets up an opportunity, gets it back, sets him up again. And Amadio's got some offensive upside. We saw it with Vegas, with him winning cups. He's a guy that can get you, however that 25 to 30 points. He's nowhere near that pace, but that line is going, and Cousins is contributing as well. Cousins seemed like the most happy guy for Shane Pinto after his goal. Like he was they all were. And you saw with Linus Ullmark at the end of the game, you can see really beyond everything else, all the skill that Shane Pinto has. He's a really valued teammate, really, really well liked. And it was a great scene to see everybody so happy for the kid.
Yeah. It's another example of how tight the group is, right, Steve? We've seen it with other players with their first NHL goals. The reaction to JBD's goal, to Tyler Cleven's goal earlier, like a week or two ago. It's a tight group. They care about each other. They have a lot of respect for each other, and they play for each other and enjoy each other's successes together. It's really I don't want to say it's rare, but it's rare that you see it so obviously, right? Like it beats you over the head when you see the way they react sometimes to each other's successes. It's really that obvious. Wow, like they really do like each other. This is pretty cool.
Up on the housetop. Oh, hey, it's Steve here for Celebrate. I'm just putting on my old school Christmas lights with these obnoxious little plastic clips in minus 30 degree temperature at the top of this ladder 12 feet off the ground. No, I'm not doing any of that anymore. No, sir. Celebrate.ca. I urge you to check them out today.
Celebrate is your permanent holiday lighting solution. So many options. St. Paddy's Day green, Team Canada red and white, orange for Halloween, and the beautiful colors of Christmas. And Celebrate is all controlled from your smartphone.
And Celebrate's installers were absolutely fantastic and professional. I urge you to check them out today. Celebrate.ca. It's a wobbly ladder.
Now, the Pittsburgh game, Drake Batherson had a goal, and it was basically Thomas Chabot coming in from the right point and fired it across to the far post where Drake Batherson was standing there, and it goes in off his skate. And Tristan Jarry had a bizarre comment about that after the game. I'm curious to know what you think of it. He was basically saying I don't know how he get it out of the game, but that's a goal that shouldn't be in the game of hockey. Just parking a guy there and just ramping a puck off of him. Can't stop a puck like that. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, that's the nature of the game. Get to the net. Good things happen. Those types of goals have been going in since the beginning of the NHL's history. I'm not sure what Tristan Jarry was going on about there.
Well, I think that some thought that it might have been a bit of a kicking motion. It wasn't a kick because his foot didn't actually leave the ice and swing like a pendulum and kick, but he did have his skate turned, but he was stopping at the same time. There was a little bit of snow flying off there, but let's face it, he played a pool shot. He made sure his foot was at the right angle. I don't know that he necessarily was adjusting to the specific play from Shabbat, but he made sure his foot was at the right angle to make sure the puck was going to go in. But that's the spot on the ice where go back and find a YouTube clip of the 50 odd goals that Zach Hyman scored last year and see how many he scored from that exact spot, or go to the other side of the net right at the post. That's Sidney Crosby's spot. He scores all kinds of goals from that deep right off the side of the post, banging them in. So in this case, it's maybe Jari's talking about the kicking motion, but the Penguins had a chance to review and didn't. So, I mean, I don't have a problem with it. There's bodies in front of the net. I'm going to shoot the puck there. And if it hits somebody who goes in, great, I'll take it. Could have just as easily gone in off a Penguin, so, as far as Jari's concerned, unless you think it was a kick, you don't really have much of an argument here. You don't have much of a point to anything because what are you going to say? There's bodies in front of the net. It hit one and went in. Deal with it.
Yeah, no, there's no reference to him complaining about the kick or anything like that, and I don't think it was. Nor do I have a problem with any puck ever going in off a skate, even if it's directed. I think bottom line is a safety issue. When the blade comes off the ice, now it's dangerous. If it stays on the ice, it isn't. And so to me, as long as your skate blade stays on the ice, I think, and I think the NHL calls it that way too. Exactly. You should be able to redirect it all day, all you want. I think it's more about safety and less about, I think some people worry about it. Oh my God, it's not soccer and stuff. It's like, well, nobody's kicking it. It's just redirecting, and I don't have an issue with it. And that's not why Tristan Jarry had an issue with it. He didn't like the fact that a guy could just be, parked there and you can't really move him at that stage of the game and you can ramp something in off of him. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. But it was a clip in NHL.com.
Just silly.
Sorry?
It's just silly.
For sure.
Like, really?
Yeah.
Deal with it. Move on.
Deal with it. Exactly. Also, on the goalie front, Linus Ullmark continues to be awesome. That wasn't an easy deal. That's a back-to-back with, serious travel. That's not a little jaunt to, say, Toronto or something like that. This is down to the bottom of the continent almost, down to Raleigh, North Carolina on Friday, and then you got to play again on Saturday. And here's a guy, 30, 31 years old. I forget exactly what he is, but he's played a lot of hockey lately, and that probably, in the big picture, was a spot where typically you would give him the night off, reduce the risk of injury. All the fancy stats say you do better when you give a guy the night off. But it worked out absolutely beautifully. Ullmark got through it just fine. And not only that, they got the W, and he was phenomenal. He made a couple of the saves of the year. That one on Crosby, that blocker save that was coming across, that was phenomenal. And he also had the paddle down save earlier in the game. Like, that was just a great performance. And Ullmark just seems to be in his zone now, doesn't he?
Oh, for sure. I was hoping they were going to play him back to back anyway, so it worked out for me. But yeah. I heard during the game that you were there, right? So you didn't see it on TV. You were there?
No, I didn't get a chance to go.
Oh, okay. But I heard on the broadcast, the guys were saying that he hasn't had a back to back since his days in Buffalo. So it's been a while for Linus Ullmark to play a back to back. And like you say, the fancy stats say you don't do it anymore, especially after it's a travel the night before. But no, he showed up, and he showed up early. The funny thing, you noticed on the paddle down save that you mentioned, it was a breakaway for Bunting, right? That's how it started. Did you notice the two closest guys to him as he was going to the net? Okay, it's a breakaway, Steve. It was Noah Gregor immediately behind him, pressuring originally Bunting, and it was Mike. It was what's Amadio's first name? I want to say Mike.
Yeah, it's Mike.
Michael. Yeah, it was Michael Amadio. Like, where are the D? So I had to rewind it and watch it again. The one D pinched at the blue line, like way down the half wall, and the other D pinched in the neutral zone to create the pass into the middle to begin with. So the guy had a clear-cut breakaway with only 2 forwards chasing him. So it really, Ullmark, we need a save here, buddy. And the whole team was basically telling him, we need a save here. That paddle down was amazing. What a stop. And let's not kid ourselves. He didn't do it it wasn't planned that way. It was a little bit of luck involved. But, the whole fact that he doesn't slide out of the way, he is a very economical about his motion. You compare it to the Jari one where he slid right across the whole net on the Shabbat goal. Like, there's none of that coming from Linus Ullmark, like, ever. Very economical with his movements so that he's not sliding out of the way or falling over to one side or anything. He was in position and able to thrust his arm across and throw the paddle down and make that save.
And credit the back pressure you talk about, because that paddle down, that was just a last gasp desperation type thing. And I forget who the shooter was, but that's a goal every time, if not for the back pressure coming from the forwards trying to help out defensively. So that's a good thing that should be noted. And I would say that Thomas Chabot, while he had a goal and an assist in the game, he would also owe Linus Ullmark a stake or two in that one. One in particular where he's basically skating to his right, skating backwards toward the boards, and then passes it right back in the direction he just came from. So it had nothing on it, and it set up a semi breakaway going the other way, and Ullmark had to come up big there. So, Ullmark's just been great. Like, he's everything he wasn't at the start of the year, he is now. This is what the Sens were hoping for, and they signed him to that extension, 4 years, $8.25 million per. And now he's at a situation where, he's going to have to really be leaned on, because you don't have the option of an NHL backup. Forsberg's out, and he's not even going to be on this 9-game road trip now. So they called up Leevi Merilainen from Belleville, and he got shelled in his Saturday night game against Rochester. He and Matt Sogard got back in the lineup and made his first start since October 20th on Friday night, and got shelled against Rochester. And then Merilainen comes in the next night. He got shelled by Rochester. So that wasn't ideal. But in general, since Sogard went down and Merilainen got back, they got hurt about the same time in late October. Merilainen got back, about 10, 12 games ago. Merilainen's been very good, but they're going to want to use him as little as possible on this 9-game road trip. So it'll be no rest for the wicked for Linus Ullmark.
And what's wrong with that? Like, now you've taken the whole decision process out of Travis Green's hands. These are games you got to win. They're important, obviously. I think there's only one back-to-back in all of the 9 games, if I'm not mistaken. There's 3 back-to-backs in all the 9 games?
There are 3.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. I was thinking, there's one back-to-back with travel, home.
Okay.
Right? There's one where they got to come home.
I'm not sure.
The one game they come home is a back-to-back. But hey, is this an opportunity now to say, Linus, you're our guy, and play him for, 7 of the 9, 6 of the 9? I'd like to see it. It would work for me, and it really does. It's like you're the coach. You go, okay, let's see now. I can go with Linus Ullmark on a back-to-back, or I can go with Leevi Merilainen. I think I'll go with Linus here. Like, it shouldn't be that difficult a decision to make moving forward here for the next 2 weeks.
So the schedule is this. They're in Seattle on Tuesday. Then on Thursday, they're in Calgary. Then the Saturday, still no back-to-backs, they're in Vancouver. Your first back-to-back is going from Vancouver on the Saturday to Edmonton on the Sunday.
Right.
And then they have a full 5 days off without any games at all. So December 28th, that's a Saturday. They're in Winnipeg. Then the following day, they're in Minnesota. So that's not crazy travel. Then it's off to Dallas for January 2nd. The very next day, they're in St. Louis. And then finally, they are back home for January 7th when they...
completely wrong.
January 7th, they're in Detroit. They're back home against Buffalo on January 9th. So I was surprised that you had studied the schedule to the point where you knew exactly what the travel situation was in every back-to-back. So Anyway, that's
but still, the point remains. Okay, Vancouver to Edmonton is tough. Like that's a couple hours, and that's a time zone. So that one might be tough. But you then got 5 days off. So I think you can get away with him if he plays well up to that point. Like assuming he's going to play the first couple games and into Calgary, and then he can play in Vancouver, and then why can't he play in Edmonton back to back and then have 5 days off? I don't think that one's a problem. As you alluded to, Minnesota, Winnipeg is what is it? Does the plane even level off when you take off from Winnipeg? I think you just go up and then you go down, don't you? It's like flying from here to Toronto. I don't think that one's too difficult a travel situation, but maybe that's the one where you give them a day off in between. But the Minnesota and Winnipeg, those are two of the top 5 teams in the league all season right there. That's going to be a tough back-to-back no matter who you are. Like you went through the list there, Steve. 8 of the 9 teams are all ahead of them in the standings. Like there isn't an easy game. It's bad enough that you've got this 9-game road trip, but 8 of the 9 are against teams ahead of you in the standings. And it's not like you're 31st anymore. You're actually 18th for a change, and still 8 of 9 are ahead of you. So like a whole half of the league ahead of you. That's a whole half of the trip. Sorry. What am I trying to say? 18 teams ahead of you, and you're going to play 9 of them. That's tough. That's really tough.
Yeah. Yeah, it's such a logjam in the playoff situation. Like it's nice to see the Senators in a playoff spot, however fleeting it might be. Like you'd have to go back quite a lot of years to be this late in the season where the Sens are in a playoff position. But get a load of where we're at right now. So you've got Tampa at 34 points and Ottawa at 32, and just using Ottawa as the benchmark here because they have the final playoff spot at the moment. They are right now tied with Philadelphia, 1 point up on the Rangers, Penguins, and Islanders, and they are just 3 up on Columbus, 4 on Detroit. So, it's great that they're here. They've played great hockey to get here. Again, they won 5 of their last 6. But now they're going to have to do something like that again to stay in the position they are, because one of those teams I just mentioned, almost assuredly at least one will go on one of those heaters of winning 4 out of 5 games, and they will take your spot very quickly. So the Sens had to play great to get here. Now they're going to have to play great to stay here.
Right. And how confident are you that they return from this trip still in a playoff spot? Like, how confident are you that, let's just say 10 games from now, this 9-game road trip and one more into the middle of January, I guess somewhere around the 10th or 12th would be the 10th game. How confident are you that they're still going to be in a playoff spot by the middle of January?
Well, I was a lot more confident until you told me their history of long road trips and how they've gone in the past.
I wrote it down.
The road has not been kind to them. Not in the distant past, not in the current situation, recent. Like we've seen this team hit the road. It was a couple of years ago. It was, I believe, shortly after they had acquired Jacob Chychrun at the deadline. In and around that time, they went on. They were looking really good, and then all of a sudden, they go on the road for 5 games, lose them all, and that ended their season. Basically, it was around March 4th. And Chychrun had just arrived at first game in Ottawa, and you're thinking, okay, they feel like they're on their way, and then they lost 5 straight on the road. So, there's still a lot for this team to prove. But I like what I see right now, right? And I'm encouraged. But oh my God, have we learned nothing if we're going to start strutting about or they've turned the corner and stuff? How can you possibly go down that road 100% fully? I cannot.
Do you remember when I once banned the use of the term Logan Brown on the show? We're never going to talk about Logan Brown again. I now wish to ban the phrase turned the corner. We will never use that phrase ever again. Anywho, as you were saying, in their history, the Senators have had 2 7-game road trips and 2 8-game road trips. That would be a total of 30 games. In those 30 games spread out since 93-94, 08-09, 17-18, and 2021. Those are when the 7 and 8 game road trips were. 30 games, 4 wins, 24 losses, 2 overtime wins. That's it, Steve. 10 points in the 30 games on those big 7 and 8 game road trips. So let's hope they do a little better this time. I'd be happy if in the 9 games you got 9 points. I'd be okay with that.
Yes, and that's fair to bring that up, but I would remove the 92, 93.
93, 94. Yeah, that's second season, 93, 94. Yeah, that was an 8-gamer where they went like 1-7 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like those early teams were 0 for everything. Like
They were awful.
they could, so bad. Like on the road, they could have taken on teams that were out there in their snow boots,
Beat the Islanders.
and they still would have come home with a losing record.
Beat the Islanders.
Okay. What's that?
They beat the Islanders on the road there that first year. Oh, I remember that one.
Yeah, I still remember Rick Bowness and the team jumping up and down on the bench, ending their because it was like there's a month or 2 before the season. What's that?
It was like 21 straight on the road they'd lost. Something like that.
Well, yeah, at least that. I think they were, because I don't think they'd ever won on the road.
Was it their first win ever on the road? Whatever. I just remembered it was horrible. They beat the Islanders.
It was long. Sake. Yeah, it was long. It was awful. And yeah. So again, the next game will be on Tuesday night. They'll be taking on the Seattle Kraken, which I still can't get used to as an actual name, but at least it's better than Utah's name, which is non-existent.
It's hockey club.
So yeah, exactly. So that'll do it for this week's show. Don't forget that our website is sensnationhockey.com. All kinds of cool stuff you can find as well on the Hockey News Ottawa website, thn.com/Ottawa. I encourage you to check that out and click as much as possible. The views thing. So it's all about views. I don't know. Anyway, appreciate those who are reading and supporting.
And I apologize for my green screen. We should apologize.
Yeah,
we got to apologize for my green screen. I'm very sorry, folks.
Yeah, we're getting.
Technical
No, it's not your fault. You may be pointing at something that isn't green, but it's been giving me a little. It's been giving me a little trouble. So it may, in fact, right now as we speak, have something cool behind it, or it may simply be the green screen. I just have to improve your lighting. Nobody cares technically, but we do appreciate you being here, and we'll talk to you in our next episode. Thanks, Greg.
Good night, sir.